Hi all, and thanks for joining the Cloud Lunch and Learn Marathon this year. I hope you enjoyed the session so far and you had some inspiring insights and also some fun along the way. I want to thank the team for organizing this event, and I hope this will happen again next year. So I will tell you how you can use Azure Automanage to get a grip on your virtual machines. My name is Karel de Winter. I'm a cloud solution architect working at Dexmach, and I'm also a Microsoft Azure MVP. You can find me on Twitter or LinkedIn, and if you will, please visit my blog. So we all know that managing stuff on premises is done by one team, and managing stuff in the cloud is done by another team. And those teams, they have different management expertise. So the on-premises team used to keep the mission-critical line of business applications alive and running, but for them, that still remains a challenge. As we all know, is that those traditional workloads are moving to the cloud, and some companies have done a lot of effort and transformed to a platform as a service or software as a service. And others, they have just moved to VMs and are still in an infrastructure as a service, so an IaaS scenario. And you should know that managing those traditional workloads in the cloud is also hard, or even harder, than the way in which you manage them in a traditional on-premises scenario. So why is it not easy to run and manage those traditional workloads in the cloud? Well, that's the goal of Azure Automanage. It's made to replace repetitive day-to-day operational tasks, and it checks the configuration of VMs and looks where things can be configured better. And by that, I mean configured by the Microsoft best practices. So those can be found in the Microsoft Cloud Adoption Framework or the Well-Architected Framework. And it's a white paper you can read through and check what Microsoft thinks are the best things for your VM. So with Azure Automanage, you don't have to worry about onboarding to that service, or you don't have to worry about configuring it. That you can do through Azure Policy. The same will be true if security, for example, for security, but also for compliance. So your VM will automatically be onboarded to Azure Security Center and Azure Anti-Malware. For now, the service is still in preview, so please be aware to not use it in production. And let's have a look at the virtual machine best practices. So Azure Backup will be enabled on your Azure VMs. Security Center Free Edition will be enabled. The Azure Monitoring and also the Insights will be enabled. Windows updates will be installed through Update Management, and changes will be logged via track changing and inventory. So those are the current services that are now in preview, but later on they will add more and more features to the list. And obviously, if your machine drifts from those best practices state, it will automatically be remediated. So if your environment has to meet all those best practices, configuration settings, those can be done using Automanage for virtual machines. So let's go ahead and dive into the technical details. So the key takeaways here is that the VM will be onboarded and also selected with the best practices. It will automatically configure per Azure best practice, and a guest operating system will be configured for or per the Microsoft baseline configuration, and it will automatically detect when something is not in line with those best practices, and it will correct them if it detects. So onboarding can through the portal, but also via Azure Policy and PowerShell, but also via ARM. So now you know how Automanage is working. Let's see how we can enable it in the Azure portal. So first of all, you search for Automanage in the search bar above, and you select the service. Be aware that the service is still in preview, so don't use it in production. And then you have to select your subscription, where all your VMs are, and then just simply click on Enable on Existing VM. We have to select the machines, and here we can see the machines that are eligible and those that are not. You just show ineligible virtual machines, and then you can see that I have one VM that is Linux OS that is currently not supported. So I leave the Linux one and I just click on the two Windows VMs I click on select. So I have 2 machines selected, and then I can see the configuration profile. Like I told you, you can change the configuration profile, and at the moment there are 2 profiles and preferences. So one is for production and the other is for dev and test purposes. So if you have a look at the production one, you can see that there is a default configuration preference, and you can also create a new one if you want. But let's have a look what the default configuration preferences are. So first of all, you have virtual machine insights monitoring that is going to be enabled. The backup is going to be enabled at backup frequency daily, and an instant restore, so an instant recovery snapshots will be kept for 2 days, and the backup will be retained every day at 12 p.m. for 180 days. Also, Security Center is enabled. And then we have the anti-malware engine that is going to be enabled in the VMs, and there is real-time protection enabled. There is going to be no scheduled scan in the default preferences, but there is going to be a quick scan. And also, very important, update management is going to be configured, and the change tracking and inventory is also going to be enabled. And for that, we are going to have an automation account and a log analytics workspace. So if we have a look at the dev test environment, we can't see the Azure backup, so there will be no Azure backup possibility. And yeah, the full services are going to be used. So if we want to make a new configuration, for example, for a production one, and we want to have another backup frequency, we can do that to just simply click on create new preference. We are going to give it a name, and then we select the resource group, the region, and we can configure at this moment 2 preferences, one for backup and the other for anti-malware. So if we want to use the backup, we can see that the instant restore, we can just keep it for 1 day, and the backup retention range can be for 30 days. This is going to be a less storage needed for that. And then for the anti-malware, we are going to or can exclude some files and locations or known extensions, and we can also change the real-time protection from enabled to disabled, run a scheduled scan, or go from a quick scan to a full scan. So let's create that and enable the new festive preferences on the production profile. We are going to select that. If we have a look at the advanced settings, we can see that there is going to be an Automanage account that is going to be created. So in the back, it's an Azure Managed Identity under which the VM operations are going to be performed. So for now, that's the only thing we have to do, and just click on enable and wait. We are going to see that we are in the back, there is going to be a resource group created, and an account is going to be created. The account is going to be assigned to the subscription level, and then from there on you can see that the status is in progress. Okay, all good. My 2 VMs are onboarded into Azure Automanage and they are configured. So the different services are enabled right now. But if you're going to have a look at the VM that is not enabled, so just to show you what it looks like, backup has not been enabled. So we have to create backup configuration. For example, the update management configuration is not configured on this VM. Also, the inventory or change tracking we have to configure, and insights is also not configured. So if we have a look at my VM, one of my 2 VMs that have been onboarded, we can see that for the backup, we have a backup configuration. So all things are good here. We've done nothing but just enable the Automanage configuration. So you can see that the backup policy has been assigned is the one that Automanage has configured. Also for something else like update management, we can have a look and see that there are updates pending. So we can install and approve those updates. And then for inventory and change tracking, we can see that the dependency agent has been installed and there are being updates installed. So that's very good. And then something else that's very nice to see and nice to have is the VM Insights. So you can see which ports are open or active on the server and then see a link to the service that is being used by that. So that's very nice, and that's a built-in service. And also a security center has been enabled on this subscription. So something else I wanted to show you is that we can enable Automanage when we create VMs or onboard VMs, and that we can do via Azure Policy. So if we go to Azure Policy and we go to the definitions, then we can select the category. So we choose only Automanage, excuse me, and there we can see that there is one definition. So we are going to open that policy definition, and we are going to assign that definition to a specific scope. So I choose my subscription and then no exclusions. Next is we have to choose the Automanage account that has been created. So this is the default one that has been created, but you can choose another one if you want. And from there we are going to create the policy assignment. And from now on, if we are going to create VMs in the subscription, they are automatically going to be onboarded in Automanage. That's basically it to enable Automanage on your VMs. But what if you want to disable it? So you want to remove your VM from the Automanage configuration. Well, for that, we are going back to the Automanage. We select the subscription that we have enabled, Automanage, and then we simply select the VM that we want auto management anymore, and we click on disable auto management. So for that, just be sure to know that the configuration will rest in place. So the backup will be configured, the insights, auto update management will still be active, but the VM will not be onboarded in Automanage anymore. So if we disable it, just keep in mind that the costs that are happening with backup and so on will still be in place. So I hope you enjoyed the demo. Thanks for watching and see you on the next session. Bye.